Hello and welcome to assignment 1 Java dual mode calculator project. I'll be explaining the project. So in the main activity is most of the logic of the project. So here we have a calculator class object that takes from calculator class from in here. It's imported. We're also implementing an on-click listener. So here we're initializing the buttons, right? So we're creating buttons, text to use as well for the result and the history. Over here, we're also implementing the mandatory function on create that has a saved instance state. In the activity main, um, yeah, so over here, we're assigning the different buttons, the different IDs, right? So that every time we click that action or that string is rather stored in here, as well as the advanced button and history button. And then we set on click listeners to listen for the clicking action and do a certain implementation once it is clicked. So once it is clicked, here's that mandatory implementation. So this is the implementation for advanced button. So set on click listener. So if the mode is 0, set the mode to 1 and then clear the input string and change the display here in the button itself to advanced mode, or sorry, rather standard no history mode, and clear the history text. If the mode is 0, then set the visibility to invisible, so hide it, in other words, and then change this text to advanced with history, and then clear all other parameters, including the input string and the history array list. Okay, so that is the implementation of the main activity. The implementation in the main class basically talks about the calculator class itself. So in here we have input string and history array string, which will be responsible for basically handling the data we input and handling the history of the different items that will be displayed over here. We have index result solution. Those are all integers to keep track of different indexes, if you will. And then we have also expression list and expression history, strings to keep track of the string manipulations that we do for the result text and for the history text. Okay, so if we go down, over here we have the implementation of the push function. So this is how we add different input. And then we use string.join to concatenate the string into an expression, right? So like 2 plus 5, right? That would be an expression. And then we increment the indexes as we go. Over here is the actual basic implementation of the basic calculator function. So the plus operator, the minus operator. So these are all the different cases that could be used, right? And what happens to the result in each of those cases, returns result. In the calculate function, this is a little bit more complex. So in here, we actually convert the clicked upon buttons into an input string. We add it to the input string, right? And then over here, we do a little bit of error checking. So if the number is 1, then we add it to the input string. Otherwise, we basically return the solution. And the number 2 has to also be parsed. And the calculation happens in the else clause. So we call upon the calculate function, depending on whichever operator is chosen, we pass it in, and the two numbers that were chosen, and then we output the solution. This is just for troubleshooting in here, and then we return the solution. In store history,